Good afternoon, everyone. I know my hair is insane, but since I am gonna color it later, I do not want to wash it. So y'all will have to just deal. But Operation Vital, the whole veteran. Here is where Operation Vital can become really powerful because veterans are not spreadsheets. They are not diagnoses, codes. They are not VA claim numbers, right? And they definitely should not have to spend half their lives playing medical system scavenger hunt trying to figure out which office handles which problem. Operation Vital can help fill that gap, not by becoming the doctor, not by becoming or prescribing anything, and definitely not by telling somebody to stop their medication because Becky on Facebook discovered turmeric. The purpose is much simpler. So here it is. Look at the whole veteran. Chronic pain, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, lingering symptoms after Lyme treatment, sleep problems, fatigue, digestive issues, mobility limitations, medication side effects, stress, isolation, nutrition, hydration, mental health. Very important because all of it affects everyone else. If somebody sleeps 3 hours a night, barely eats, lives in pain, forgets their medication, misses appointments, and hasn't spoken to another human being in 4 days, handing them another pamphlet probably isn't going to revolutionize their life. That is where Operation Vital comes in. Find the veteran, connect the veteran, stay with the veteran. We can help veterans build realistic daily routines alongside their actual medical care. Hydrate. Eat something their body actually tolerates. Take prescribed medications, as well as move a little if medically appropriate. 5 minutes of stretching counts every day. Walking around the block counts. This is not Navy SEAL selection. Consistency beats intensity, and pacing matters. People with chronic illnesses get one good day and suddenly they are personally responsible for completing every unfinished task since 2019. Then their body files a formal complaint. Crash, burn, recover, repeat. Operation Vital can help people recognize that cycle and learn to work with their body instead of declaring war on it every Tuesday. Because supporting someone's health does not always begin with some revolutionary medical intervention. Sometimes it starts with asking, did you eat today? Did you sleep? Do you have your medication? Do you understand what your doctor told you? Do you have transportation to your next appointment? Are you okay? Those are simple questions, but sometimes nobody's asking them. And that is exactly the kind of gap Operation Vital can help close. All right. The second part is resource navigation and follow through. Nutrition is another perfect example of why Operation Vital needs to look beyond the surface. We love telling people, eat healthier. Okay, drink your water. But first, ask, do they actually have food? Because sometimes the problem is nutritional, education, or access. Sometimes it's Crohn's disease. Sometimes it's nausea. Sometimes they cannot physically cook. And sometimes there is a $14 left in their account on Friday. Those require completely different solutions. That is why Operation Vital should focus heavily on resource navigation. Medical issue, connect them with medical care. Also, food insecurity, find food resources. Transportation problem, help identify transportation for them. Medication concerns, get them connected with the appropriate clinician or pharmacist. Benefits problem, help navigate the correct system. Mental health concerns, connect them with the qualified support. But here is the important part, follow-up. Because giving somebody a phone number and disappearing is not case management. That is arts and crafts. Here's your brochure, good luck out there. No. Did you call? Did somebody answer? Did you get an appointment? Did you understand what happens next? Did the resource actually help? And if it didn't, what is plan B? That follow through could become one of the things that separates Operation Vital from everything else. Another major piece should be helping veterans become better advocates for themselves. We do not diagnose them. We do not interpret laboratory results, but we can help them walk into an appointment prepared. What medications are you taking currently? What supplements? What symptoms changed? When did they change? What makes them worse? What makes them better? How are you sleeping? How is your appetite? What questions do you want answered? That sounds basic, but imagine how much more productive an appointment becomes when somebody walks in organized instead of trying to remember 6 months worth of symptoms while sitting under fluorescent lights with a doctor trying to type into a computer. Operation Vital becomes the bridge, not replacing healthcare, making healthcare easier to navigate. Okay, now let's move on to the next section. Tracking chronic illness and cannabis. This is also where symptom tracking becomes incredibly useful. Pain. We've all experienced it. Sleep, fatigue, as well as meals, hydration, and activity. And the most important part, stress. Bowel symptoms, appetite, medication changes, as well as weight changes. That can also lead to depression one way or another. Cannabis use if applicable. Track it for several weeks. Because how have you felt lately is a terrible scientific instrument. Most of us cannot remember what we ate Tuesday. Now imagine trying to accurately remember how your body behaved 6 weeks ago. But when someone tracks it, patterns can appear. Maybe every major pain flare follows terrible sleep. Maybe stomach problems repeatedly follow certain foods. Maybe fatigue dramatically changed after a medication change. And they need to know all of that. Now the veteran has useful information to bring to their healthcare professional. And when we talk about conditions like Crohn's disease, Lyme disease, or fibromyalgia, Operation Vital needs very clear boundaries. Holistic support does not mean replacing legitimate medical care. Crohn's still requires appropriate medical management. Active Lyme disease still requires proper medical evaluation and treatment. Fibromyalgia still deserves legitimate care as well. Operation Vital supports everything around that treatment. So nutrition, right? Hydration, making sure that they stay hydrated. Number one reason why people end up in the ER. Movement, sleep, pacing, they're uneasy, appointments, transportation, once again. And peer support. You need friends, you need community, and most importantly, follow up. And cannabis and FICO needs to be handled realistically too. Veterans are already using cannabis. Pretending they aren't is not a safety strategy. So Operation Vital's lane should be education and harm reduction. Know what you're taking. Understand THC and CBD content. Understand impairment, right? Understand that cannabis can interact with medications. Do not drive impaired ever. And understand one extremely important distinction. Feeling better does not necessarily mean the underlying disease is better. Pain relief is pain relief. It does not automatically mean the disease treatment worked. Operation Vital does not need to judge people. It needs to help them make informed decisions and know when a question belongs with a doctor. That is what responsible support looks like. All right, now let's move on to section 4. Know your lane, stay within the veteran. Stay with the veteran. Sorry. Operation Vital also teaches volunteers when something has moved way outside the wellness lane. Severe abdominal pain, significant bleeding, for example, persistent vomiting, severe dehydration, high fever, right? Fainting, new neurological symptoms, as well as chest pain, which is super serious, severe breathing problems, of course, confusion. Those are not. Drink some electrolytes and see how tomorrow goes. Those are get medical help right away. Knowing your lane is part of helping people safely. But there's another piece that may be just as important. Connection. Because chronic illness gets really loud when the world gets quiet. Pain affects sleep. Poor sleep affects mood. Mood affects motivation. Motivation affects movement. Isolation affects mental health. Financial stress affects all of it. Everything talks to everything, which means Operation Vital should not simply look at somebody and ask, what diagnosis do you have? Ask instead, what is making your life harder right now? Then start working through it. One piece at a time. The VA may handle one piece. A specialist handles another. A therapist handles another. A nonprofit handles another. Family handles another part. Operation Vital can become the connective tissue, making sure the veteran does not disappear somewhere between all of them. That is the model. Not miracles, not snake oil, not Dr. Facebook. Infrastructure. Find people. Connect. Listen. Connect